Welcome back to Friday Coffee Talks. This is episode 108. I'm your host, Connor Volpe, and we are here talking over coffee on Friday. I got a wonderful book for my birthday from my sister and my brother-in-law, Coffee Art for Home Baristas. Now, I'm not going to be making any dragons like this anytime soon, as evidenced by my coffee. I made this today and wanted to make a lovely coffee art to show you all, and completely failed. It was terrible. I didn't get the right foam in the milk. I'm very bad at this, so it's just a plain cup of coffee. It tastes great though. I will admit, but a little behind the scenes. Let me peel the curtain back a bit on Friday Coffee Talks. Normally I film these all in one take. I try not to do a ton of editing unless it's an episode where I need to, putting in clips or things like that. If it's just an episode like this where I'm talking, I'd pretty much record it, put it out there, good to go, done, right? Boom. I am dumb. This is the second take at this episode because I did not turn my microphone on. And so I recorded an entire episode and you couldn't hear a single word I was saying. So my coffee is half drink already because I've already filmed this once, but we're trying again. Take two. Here we go. The little clapper thing. Yes, so today is National Donut Day. We started off the morning with a little sugar with the kids. Parker has a calendar on his wall of all the national days. And so today was National Donut Day. We went to our favorite little close place, J&J's. It's very delicious. Strawberry frosted for me. Little apple fritter, chocolate twist, strawberry bunny for the kids. Chocolate twist for Mandy. She's a chocolate twist kind of gal. That's a fun way to start the morning. A little group breakfast. We're going to see Across the Spider-Verse tonight with the kids, the big kids. So very excited for that. Love that movie and can't wait to see the second one. It was wonderful. The other big thing happening this week was the finale of Ted Lasso. Cry, tear. It's very sad to be over. It is well documented on this show how much I love Ted Lasso. I'm obsessed. One of the best shows of all time. Incredibly well written. The characters are so developed. Feels like you know them, like you're part of their family, like you're in the AFC Richmond locker room with them. I won't spoil anything about the finale. It was as perfect as it can get, so go watch it if you haven't. If you haven't watched the show, go catch up. It's just so perfect. But there was one line in the finale that has really stuck with me and had me thinking, had my wheels turning since then. And it is the incomparable Leslie Higgins during a meeting of the Diamond Dogs. And they're talking about improvement as a person. And he says, humans will never be perfect. But as long as you keep asking for help and accepting it when you can, as long as you can do that, you'll keep moving toward better. And that is so profound and so true. Golly, Higgins, just so wise. It's about asking for help. It's about being vulnerable. It's amazing to think that as humans, one of the strongest things we can do is admit that we're weak and that we need help. I need help all the time. But more importantly, I think asking for help is difficult, but accepting help when you don't really want to is so hard. It's something I've struggled with for a long time. So with that, I kind of want to tell a little bit of my story today. It's going to be a little different episode than normal. Maybe a little bit more vulnerable, a little more backstory for me. So if you're interested, listen up. I'm going to keep going. Let's take it back a little bit. So 2013 time frame, Mandy and I worked really hard and we lost a ton of weight. Between the two of us, 180 pounds. I mean, it was so hard. It was probably a year, I think it took us to lose it all. But I was in the best shape of my life. I was athletically competitive, which is something that I didn't realize I've always dreamed to be. I felt like I was reaching the potential that I had, that I knew I always had, but I had never quite been able to reach. Being fit, and I poured a lot into that. Obviously, I put a lot of hard work into losing the weight, but I also poured a lot into it became one of my hobbies. I was a competitive CrossFitter. I poured a lot into like helping people and trying to like give back and educate and coach. And it was a great time. I really enjoyed it. Obviously since then life has happened and I've gained a lot of the weight back. But I realized that I'd been putting a lot of my identity into my fitness and who I was, which wasn't great, right? Around that same time, I also went through career transition. So I moved from engineering to sales, and as I've talked about a few times on here before, that didn't go so smoothly for me. I didn't pick up right where I left off, and I didn't have the immediate success that I wanted or that I was hoping for. And so it kind of threw me for a loop. It was in this time where I was starting to gain weight that I didn't feel like I should, and work wasn't going great. I wasn't being super successful there. And so I struggled. It hit me hard. I was overwhelmed with pretty deep depression, anxiety, anger issues, and it hit me. It hit me. It was something I had never expected. I'd never experienced before. And, it was difficult. These things that I'd put my identity in, who I thought made me who I am, when those started to go away, I felt like I was losing a piece of myself. But what actually happened is, by putting so much of me into those things that I thought made me, it actually made me lose the things that actually did make me, if that makes sense. I thought that I was losing things that mattered, but they didn't. And when I reacted poorly to those things, it made me lose my personality characteristics, my way I interact with people, the things that actually make me, the personality traits and the values and the things that I hold dear and that make me who I am. Those things started to slip. And that's when it started to get like, ooh, yeah, this is not great. I won't go off into too much of a tangent here, but if you're familiar with the Enneagram, I don't do a lot of the like personality tests or personality types. I couldn't tell you the INF, whatever, PQZ. I have no idea. That one I have no idea. But on the Enneagram, I've looked into it a bit, and I'm an Enneagram 3, like a hard Enneagram 3 by the book. Like you open it up, there's Connor, number 3. And the big thing about the threes is they thrive on achievement and success and achieving goals and running after something and tearing down walls. And that's me to a T. I thrive on the things. And so the best way I've been described it is that scene from Talladega Nights when Ricky Bobby's doing the interview. He's like, listen, I wake up and I piss excellence. That's me. It's one of those things where I am so fulfilled by my achievement that I'm always going and looking for the next thing. And so when those things, the achievements started to move away, I started to gain the weight back. I wasn't seeing the work success I wanted to, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on. It rocked me. It shook me. And so, yeah, I came down with some mental health issues that are not gone. They're still around. They're still there. It happens. But for the first time in my life, I was faced with looking at meeting with a therapist. It was something that I did not want to do at all. The prospect of going and talking to somebody about my problems and having them tell me what I was doing wrong sounded awful. I wanted no part of it. But I was encouraged, and then I was a little more pushed, and then I was like, you need to do this, from Mandy. And no shade to her. That's what I needed to do, which she was right, as she usually is. So around, I guess it was 2016, 2017, something like that, I started seeing a therapist. I met with him weekly for a couple of years, and it was very good. Was able to work through a lot of things. I saw some turnarounds in my life. I started to see those successes again, and I was able to handle some of my issues. I got on an antidepressant, and things turned a corner. Life got better, and that was really good. I saw the results I wanted to, and that was awesome. We met for a couple years, and we kind of reached a natural end of like, hey, this has been a really good time together, but I think it's probably time to move on. And then shortly after that, a global pandemic hit, and it threw my life upside down again, just like it threw yours and everybody else's in the entire world. Nobody had any idea what was going on. We had no idea how to interact with this, and I still don't think we will see the full impact on our generation for a very long time of what COVID did to us mentally, socially. And yeah, so for the second once in a lifetime happening, I slipped back into some of the things that I had been running from, the depression, the anger, a lot of things bubbled back up that I thought I'd kind of gotten my hands around a little bit, and it wasn't going super great again. So I started meeting with a new therapist a couple years ago, And again, it's been great. It's an interesting thing for me. Therapy in the movies, like what you see is like the laying on the couch or the Tony Soprano, and it's very much like a problem, like a fix it solution type of meeting where they're talking about something that happens and they're like, the therapist is always coming back with like, have you tried this? Like, let me give you some advice on this, or like breaking down things, or I guess I don't know how to explain it really well, but that's not been my experience with therapy. Neither of the therapists that I've met with regularly have done it like that. I did meet a couple of folks as I was looking for my new like permanent therapists that were a little bit more like that, and maybe that's something I need to explore in the future. But as of now, the two folks that I've talked to has really just been about having somebody that I can just talk to. Somebody that is impartial to my life, that has no bearing on any of the situations that I are going through my mind, that are weighing on me, whatever it is. Like, I have mentors, and that's important. I have my wife, I have my family, I have friends, I have like work mentors, and I can talk to them about all those kind of things, but it's unless you have somebody like that who is completely impartial to all of it, I think to me, that's the value of a therapist. I can't talk to my boss about my interactions with my kids. I can't talk to my wife doesn't care about my interactions at work, right? It's some of those things. My friends don't care about, this or that or whatever. But I can go to my therapist and I can have a conversation with him about whatever I'm thinking about. And he doesn't have a dog in the fight. He's not involved in any aspect of my life. And so he's not going to pick sides. He's not going to be judgmental. He's not going to feel hurt by anything that I'm talking about or thinking about or upset about, or whatever the case may be. He's an impartial third party that I can just have a conversation with and be open and honest and truthful about the way that I'm interacting with things and how I'm handling things. So I don't get a ton of advice from him. It's an interesting thing. Like when I leave sessions, I don't have like a list of things to do. Like, oh, I should try this. There's been some things, for sure, if I'm asking for things, but generally my sessions are just a chat. It's, hey, what's going on and how are you feeling about them? How are you handling them? What are you struggling with? Those kind of things. And my therapist now is really good. Both of the folks I've met with are really good about relating what I'm having going on to experiences they've had or discussions they've had, and how people kind of work through things like that. So it's been really good for me. I hate to admit it now. I fought it kicking and screaming going in, but meeting with a therapist regularly has been really, really, really good for me. So I would recommend it highly. Even if you're one of the types of people who feels like it's admitting a weakness or whatever. We go back to Higgins, asking for help when you need it and accepting it when you can. That's how we keep moving toward better. So I can't say enough good things about mental health. Take care of yourselves, especially in sales. I mean, I talk a lot about sales on here. It's kind of my life, but it's a tough gig. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of negativity, and it's easy to get caught up in those types of things after a while. So make sure you're looking out for yourself. Sales has some really high highs, but it also has some really low lows. So just make sure that as you're out there hustling, as you're meeting with customers, as you're helping people, as you're working on projects, make sure you're helping yourself too. See a therapist if you need to, ask for help when you need it, and accept it when you can. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you bearing with me for a little more serious of an episode than normal. I hope you have a great weekend. I plan to. I'm going to watch we're in Spain for Formula One this weekend. So definitely can't wait for that. I'm going to go and finish this cup of coffee, probably grab one or two more, and attack the day. Hope you have a great one. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you next week.